excited today. You want to know why?
Because you're gonna have some kind of solutions for my disasters?
I might not have solutions for the disasters, but I got to tell you. So our guest today, David, he's a dear friend, and not just a regular friend. He's a dear friend, and we actually worked together in the past, right? So I am so happy to bring to you today, Mr. Ross Rutman, and he is an account executive over at BELFOR Property Restoration. Ross, man, so good to see you. So good to see you. Thank you for coming on the show. And could you tell us and our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you do over at BELFOR?
Well, right back at you guys. Thanks for having me. It's cool to be on the other side of the fence. Used to present with you guys when I was over there. But a little bit about me. My name's Ross Rutman. I kind of been born into this industry, for lack of a better term. My mother was a property manager for many years. I used to go out on site inspections. I was tagging cars, helping with violations, you name it. And I guess that was really the start of my career, and I just didn't know it at the time. Fast forward a little bit. Got to First Service Residential. It was Wentworth Property Management at the time. I actually had a homework assignment to interview a business leader. Spent some time with Michael Mandillo and a few others, and it turned into my career path. You know, dabbled in a few different departments, got licensed in insurance, was introduced to JGS, where I met you guys, and then I started insuring communities, just like the two of you.
Very cool.
Okay.
And it seems like you've worked in the industry. Like you said, you were born into it, doing from the property management side. But now on the restoration side, there's hundreds, if not hundreds of millions of restoration companies out there in the industry. What made you choose BELFOR as a good platform to continue your career in community association market?
Oh, it's a good question. Really, when it came down to it, I started out on the management side. I even did some business development on the snow removal side of the fence, along with insurance. So for me, it was really about keeping my hat on, my management hat, my insurance broker hat. Property restoration seemed to make sense, where I could kind of use all the things I learned along the way to help people out. When it came to BELFOR, what really stood out about them, and I didn't even know this at the time, they're the world's largest restoration company. I worked for one of the largest property management firms. I worked for a very large broker. You guys, let's keep that momentum going. I need to be able to help my clients in my target market. What's unique about us is a couple things. Do you guys know anybody with their own barbecue sauce?
No, nope.
Oh.
No, I haven't seen that yet. Nice.
No, but all kidding aside, big or small, they won't turn anything away. You guys can knock over a cup of water in your office, call us up, we'll dry it up for you. But where we really shine is where multiple units are affected. In my office out in New Jersey, that's where we really like to focus our time, is on the rebuilds. We do it all: mold, water, fire, storm damage, pretty much any catastrophe that can lead to an insurance claim, and we're there for you.
Michael Flippin, I know you're watching. Reach out to Ross and get one of two cans of that BELFOR barbecue sauce.
You mentioned a couple of issues that community associations face, some perils, if you will. But what are you seeing, Ross, these days? What are some of the bigger issues you're facing, or some of the bigger claims or losses that you guys are running into in your region?
So the bigger ones lately, there seems to be a lot of fires taking place out there. With people being home, spending a lot of time there, you're seeing a lot more related to water as well. Depending on the structure type, that could affect multiple homes, either to the side or all the way down in a high rise, for example. And little things, sewage backups, mold, of course. We had a pretty light season as far as storms were considered in our area.
Gotcha. Now, as far as the United States, because you mentioned BELFOR is the largest nationwide or largest worldwide?
Both. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Nationwide, North America, we pretty much have a location everywhere where you can find insurance. So a good portion of the world has one of our offices available to them. But what are we seeing outside of our area?
Yeah.
For example, let's look at California, Texas, the Midwest, Florida even. You have more tornadoes, more earthquakes, flooding, hurricane damage. Over here, we had it pretty light this past year.
So I guess when we have some lighter claim situations or less events happening, that would be the time, I'm guessing, to prepare communities for what might be coming rather than just reacting, right? So you're always trying to be proactive. Ross, do you have any advice for communities as to how they can better prepare for disasters? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Honestly, Steve, the best time, like you said, while there isn't something going on, that's your time. Meeting with your broker, you guys, going through all the different insurances available, working with the homeowners to make sure they have the coverage, because we've just seen so many claims where people are inadequately covered. They don't have the betterments and improvements covered, their upgrades. They don't have their contents protected. Landlords aren't doing leases properly to pass those risks and require tenants to have insurance. So really getting ahead of that, making sure that if something does take place, you're properly covered. On the flip
Okay.
side, it always goes back to just having a plan. Some managers never even see a claim, while others, they deal with it at a condo every day. In the middle of the night, it always happens, or on a holiday, something
Right.
water related. So maybe don't wait for the emergency to happen. Meet with the different restoration companies out there and determine the one that's set up adequately to protect you and rebuild you, A to Z.
Now you mentioned something just there about who's going to be responsible or what's going to happen in the event of a claim. Now you've seen management side, you've seen insurance side, you've seen restoration side, you've seen it from every perspective. Is there an important relationship between management and say insurance or restoration? What are some key takeaways as far as relationships are concerned to have a good partner in those situations?
Listen, it couldn't be more important. 95% of what we do at BELFOR is an insurance claim. Sometimes things don't meet deductible or something's a little smaller and somebody wants to take care of it out of pocket, but it's all triggered by some sort of claim. So I like to use the example of a fire. Unfortunately, those are some of the bigger claims that we happen to see in some of our communities, especially the garden style ones where everything's attached. We just have to take a deep look and have a real flight plan in place. The broker should be out there the day of the fire. The restoration company should be out there as well. While you have all these different chasers coming in, right? Everybody's trying to get one of your residents to sign a contract to service with them. They're also even trying to pull that with the managers. So last fire I was at, day one, fire department literally was just out the door. We're getting ready to throw some tarps up on the roof, board things up, kind of make it safe. All the homeowners are outside. The news just left. And I'm walking around with the association's broker. We know exactly who's on which base, what the plan is, what the association's contracting to do, and you kind of help guide the people so they could avoid really having a headache later when it comes down to it.
So, what challenges do you see for communities association and homeowners in the foreseeable future? Not just in Jersey, but just at large.
That list can go on and on, but having inadequate coverage and not really knowing about it until it's too late. So definitely want to go through all of that, get ahead of that. If you bought your insurance years ago, chances are if you haven't changed it, it needs an update. I bought my house a couple years back and I could tell you all the carriers I called for my home insurance. They were just offering the bare bones basic to get you your mortgage. If something were to happen, I wouldn't have enough coverage. So you have to add all of the additional bells and whistles. And then really just getting away from old habits. A lot of managers here and probably nationwide, they're stuck on getting 3 bids per their governing documents. You don't need that in every regard. You guys have said it before. You interview all your brokers, pick one, let them go get your 3 quotes. It's the same thing for us. Don't call in 3 restoration companies. Call in one, and we'll negotiate accordingly with the carrier. The claims being paid in the insurance world, so you're not looking for the cheapest. You're looking to be made whole again and be made whole the correct way.
Okay, that's interesting. It's very interesting that you guys can actually broker out certain services and really develop a comprehensive plan to get somebody and make them whole again through your office. That's really an interesting perspective on that. Now, do you have any other advice or any takeaways for property managers on navigating an event? Because a lot of times what we see is that they're not sure who's on first, who the first phone call is. What would be your advice to the property managers out there dealing with these catastrophes?
So I could tell you this from multiple perspectives, right? When I was a manager, the first thing I did was I was calling my restoration company. Trying to get everything kind of safe to start and get it on path. The broker usually didn't find out for another day or two if they didn't hear it on the news. But when it comes down to it, those should be your first phone calls. Get your broker on board, get your restoration company, introduce the 2 of them, even if it's on site or via email, and just make sure that those 2 know exactly what's going on and they'll get you through your process A to Z.
Yeah, and last thing that I think is valuable to share, I had the experience. We're in a world of consolidation. Companies gets acquired left and right, and at times you may choose a restoration company, and unfortunately, they get absorbed, or they get acquired in the middle of a project, and that can definitely throw a wrench into your plan. So having the stability of a large company like yours, Ross, is always a good thing.
Without a doubt. Couldn't have said it better myself, David.
Well, boys, we are running out of time. We've been chatting like old friends sitting there. Ross, like I said, you were one of the first people that I met ingrained in the industry. But I'm dying to know, and our viewers are too. You said you were almost born into it, but is there any standouts along your path that you'd like to recognize that has been helpful? Could be a mentor, could be just somebody who really guided you on your journey in your career.
Oh, this is going to sound like you guys might have paid me to say this, but it starts with Michael Mandillo back in the day, Wentworth First Service. Who knows, I might not even be in this industry if it wasn't for having a homework assignment and sitting with him for a few minutes. And then when I got to you guys, Mr. Ryan Fleming and Vinny Hager, shout out to those guys. I was just sitting there. I was a kid in marketing, learning the business. And Ryan Fleming asked me one day, what's next? What's next for Ross Rutman? And he pointed in a few directions, and he probably set up my path for the rest of my career when it comes down to it. So shout out to you guys, and thank you both so much for having me on.
We're glad to have you, Ross, anytime. We'll see you at the next event. But before I let you go, I have a quick rapid fire questions. You tell me yes or no, good or bad idea. So let's do a deep fry a turkey inside your unit.
No, bad idea.
Smoking in bed.
Bad idea. No.
Candles everywhere while hoarding.
No, terrible idea. Twofer.
Hanging my clothes off my sprinkler head.
Also, terrible idea. Those sprinkler heads are there, and they're not for show. It's for an important use. Goes for hotels also.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It was good fun to have you back. We'll keep you in mind. Make sure that everybody knows who Ross Rutman is, and make sure that you're prepared for what comes next. Because if you fail to prepare, you are Ross.
I like the Ryan Fleming. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
See you all next week for the next episode of Car Chat.